Hi, welcome to the Real Talk podcast, where we will have chill conversations about life and talk about relatable life experiences, share tips, wisdom, and truth, the truth, hoping that this will be a great reminder and shift as we walk through life.
It's important na now you're well before you can take care of others too. There were feelings of loss. And sometimes you can be too stressed out and you can miss out on what God has been telling you.
Imagine nyo guys, yung buhok pa lang na we thought na wala lang yan. How much more our emotions and feelings na hindi siya, yun, hindi talaga siya nagulat na we are going through something and we have emotions and we have feelings. Kasi, yun nga, we would still be affected with all of these things that's
Yeah.
happening.
If nagising ka ngayong araw na to, that means God still has a purpose for you. And that means na you can still contribute sa world na to.
So, yun, you're not alone, girl or boy. Welcome to the Real Talk podcast. So, tonight, we have Essa on the other screen. Hello, Essa. Hi. She is a psychological counselor. She is also a super and great friend of mine. And we always hang out back in those days before pandemic. So, I just love hearing stories from her. And I know that today, as we talk about being kind to our minds, that she will be able to share more about her story and about how or tips, things that can help us cope up with what we are going through emotionally and yon mentally then. So yeah, let's all welcome guys si Essa. Hello, Essa.
Okay, hi guys. Hello.
Ayan.
Let's do this.
Let's
Hello
do this.
guys.
Okay, game. Why is it important to be honest with our mental state or health? And why do we need to be kind to our minds?
It's important na we are honest with ourselves, like kung ano yung mental state natin. Kasi I think, doon nagsistart, like being aware of what you're feeling. Doon nagsistart kung you need to ask for help. Doon
Mm.
nagsistart if, what can you do so that you will feel better. Di ba parang yung mental health kasi now, it's still emerging or like some generations hindi nila na-encounter yung term na mental health to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Diba?
True.
Mas nagiging open-minded lang yung mga tao now. Pero I think with physical health, it's the same. It's parang mental
Mm.
health is the same with physical health. Kasi with physical health, di ba, we go to annual checkups, parang
Mm.
we try to see if there's anything wrong and
Mm.
we check kung baka need natin ng meds on something or whatever. Main or big difference lang is with mental health, parang ikaw yung unang makaka-notice nung nangyayari.
Mm.
Usually naman pag mental health, wala siya agad physical na manifestation. Kasi, for example, if you are very sad, like, you can still, parang, you can still try to do the usual or normal things.
Mm.
Pero ikaw yung unang makaka-recognize sa sarili mo na, oh my gosh, I'm sad today or I'm not
Mm.
really okay
Okay.
today. So
Yeah.
I think important na alam mo what you're going through or you're aware
Mm.
kasi doon nagsa-start kung ano yung next steps na gagawin mo for yourself. And
Mm.
I think as well, it's important to be kind to your mind
Mm.
kasi I'm not sure if this is yung right na line, pero di ba
Yeah.
usually tayo yung most critical sa mga sarili natin. Like, we are
Mm.
so hard on ourselves when we make mistakes. Kahit na ina-encourage na tayo ng friends natin, we still feel
True.
bad afterwards, di ba? And
Yeah.
we don't, sometimes it, parang there are people, or sometimes including myself, na we sabotage ourselves. Like may
Mm.
parang
Wow.
self-talk tayo na hindi mo yan kaya or you're not
Mm.
enough. Pero parang somehow it was normal hearing those thoughts na naririnig mo na parang hindi ka okay or kunyari nagkamali ka on something iisipin mo na hindi mo nakakayanin or you're
Mm.
a mistake, you're a failure or whatever that line is. So parang right now because we are being more open with mental health and taking care of our minds, it's important na we are kind to our minds or to ourselves first. Kasi if we are not kind to ourselves, it's hard to be kind to others as
Yeah,
well.
so
Na
true.
yun, diba? Parang it's harder to take care of other people if you're not taking care of yourself.
Mm.
Just like kung kapag may sakit ka, hindi mo kayang alagaan yung family mo if may sakit ka. So yun, parang it's important na now you're well before you can take care of others too.
Wow, it's important that you're well before you take care of others too. That's so
Yeah.
good. That's super good. And being aware talaga is one of those keys. And
Yeah.
feeling na pag-usapan din naman to sa episode, I think episode 9 or 8 with Carla
Mm.
and Yumiko. Now, when we were talking about forgiveness and rejection, yung topic, and they mentioned nga na awareness is totally a key for forgiving and feeling yourself and then letting yourself go through the process, then letting go.
Mm.
So yeah, thank you, Esa,
Yeah.
for that wonderful answer. Yan,
Ang
sige.
good ng
Okay,
question.
next question would be related, of course, to the first one. Can you share an experience with your mental health and how does that journey look like?
Mhm. Siguro what I can share is yung most recent na lang, which was the
Mm.
pandemic. So,
Mm.
last year, I really had a tough time. Like, to
Mm.
the point na I'm having hormonal imbalances. Hindi ako sure kung usually. Pero like, most of the girls or friends that I know, nag-undergo sila ng PMS, yung
Yeah,
pagiging
yeah, yeah.
mood, gano'n,
Mm.
yeah. But last year, I learned about a term which is called PMDD. So,
Mm.
PMDD is like, hindi ko maalala yung meaning ng PM dun sa
Mm.
DD, pero it's a dysphoric disorder. It's like PMS, pero 1,000 times worse. Ganun,
Oh.
yes, ganun yung meaning ng PMDD. So, usually what happens is, a week or 2 weeks before your period, like
Mm.
you're on that moody, nafe-feel mo na moody ka, and sometimes you can still feel depressed, not
Mm.
the clinical depression one, pero like
Mm.
you're too sad, you're too depressed, it's hard to work or like it's hard to go your normal routine mo, and there
Mm.
are also physical symptoms like sobrang nagka-cramps ka, talagang hirap kang makatayo. And parang at first, I thought that it was just me, na parang
Mm.
kasi nga sa tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, we have the tendency to be too hard on ourselves.
Mm.
So, nung time na yun, sabi ko, ay, kailangan kayanin ko to or parang
Mm.
I have to alam mo yun, parang I have to pick myself up and
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
parang I I I have to deal with this. Parang ganon.
Mm.
And kasi that was the time that I'm also handling other responsibilities. So parang I have to be strong. Yun yung
Mm.
sinasabi ko sa sarili ko. So pinabrush off ko lang yung
Mm.
nararamdaman ko. But then, because of the hormonal imbalances, ang journey ko talaga was, feeling ko maraming women na makaka-relate if
Mm.
if may makarinig dito na sobrang hirap talaga if you're having your PMS.
Mm.
Tapos like in my experience, hormonal imbalances. So talagang nandun ako sa down na parang I really feel sad, I really feel lonely, I really feel isolated, and parang
Mm.
wala nang, parang it feels like it's hopeless. Of course, since I have like my faith in God,
Yeah.
parang it's hard to for them to meet halfway.
Mm.
if
Yeah, yeah.
if
Get,
it's
get.
understandable na parang, oh my gosh, nafe-feel ko to, pero I have to switch back fast.
Mm.
Ganun
Yeah,
yung
yeah, yeah.
sinasabi ko sa sarili ko. But then, there was a play of hormonal imbalances. So, it was really hard on my
Mm.
part. And, nung time na yun, hindi ko rin alam na it was PMDD. Kasi nga,
Mm.
it's not a usual term. I
Mm.
don't think it's really known here in the
Yeah.
Philippines. Tapos, hindi din lahat ng women naka-experience na gano'n. Although, PMS is like PMS is the usual thing na na-experience nga natin as women. May times talaga na hirap ako. Like, I really had a tough time.
Yeah.
And of course, affected ako sa mental health ko kasi
Mm-mm.
parang it was more on feeling hopeless.
Mm.
Hopeless because of the pandemic. Like the pandemic was really a big trigger na everything suddenly changed because of the
Mm.
pandemic. So may nabasa akong article last year na because of the pandemic, there are people who are dealing with grief.
Mm.
So it's not parang 'di ba usually we associate grief with when you lost someone, when you lost
Mm-mm.
a loved one.
Yeah.
And of course, I understand that. At the same time, there is this concept of grief na na-experience mo because of the pandemic because there are things that you lost like yung plans mo, yung schedule
Oh.
mo, the things that you had in mind during,
Mm-mm.
before the pandemic
Before.
started.
Yeah.
Yes, like all the plans that you had, but suddenly everything was parang nawala
Mm.
siya lahat. And
Mm-mm.
there were feelings of loss. And hindi rin siya nag-make sense for me at first. Parang as I go through with it, I realize na, oh my gosh, I also have this part na I'm grieving because of things na somehow parang nawala sa akin
Mm-mm.
because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was really hard talaga. I don't know how to like describe it more, but it was really a hard time. It was a tough time. What really helped me on that journey
Mm-mm.
is like having people na I can talk to about it, like
Wow.
my circle of friends, people I trust, na this is what I'm going through. And, there are times na it's hard to explain as well. Parang you as a person is having a tough time making sense of it. There are also instances na yung friends mo or even the closest people, hindi rin nila agad mag-grasp. And it's not
Mm-mm.
their fault. Parang
Yeah.
it's just that, you have a different experience. Pero
Mm.
siguro when I'm reflecting about it, to be honest, what really got me through is yung grace talaga ni God. Kasi
Yeah. Wow.
looking back at everything that happened or from last year, parang sense of hopelessness, parang it can lead somewhere.
Mm.
But then God has always been my anchor na reminding me of the truth, reminding me
Mm.
of the things that I need to remember about looking forward sa life and
Yeah.
like looking forward even though there is pandemic. And parang it was not just a test of my mental health, it was also a test of my faith. So
Wow.
so talagang parang naging way yun ni God for me to really dig deep
Mm.
sa journey ko as a Christian, and also to be able to speak up about mental health. And
Mm-mm.
feeling ko din it's easier for me to talk to women now kasi parang sometimes as women we know that we are emotional, but there are
Mm-mm.
times na we are also scared of being vulnerable about
Mm.
how we feel or what we feel.
Yeah.
So parang ayun lang, parang feeling ko yung journey na yun, nagagamit siya ni God for me to be able to relate to others too.
Just to have a fair share din, akala ko ako lang din yung who's going through almost the same thing that you shared. I
Yeah.
felt like you described exactly what happened to me. I'm not really the grieving side, but like the what do you call that? The PMDD?
PMDD.
Yeah.
Yes, MDD.
Sobrang I was just too hard on myself because
Yeah.
yun nga, you're a Christian. So you have to, like, especially to your family, you have to make them see the Christ in you. But then you're going through something at you can't battle. Na
Mm,
you feel like you can't kasi y- feeling ko during those times na I just have to go through this. Still in your heart and in your head, you're battling it up with the words of God, with
yeah.
your identity as a Christian. Pero at the same time, ang hirap kasi everyone is looking at you. So, ba't ka ganyan? Bakit? And you're even saying that you're a Christian, di ba? Ang
Yeah.
hirap. Sobrang hirap. And knowing that someone else is going through the same thing, it's already sort of a comfort. I just feel that life.
Yeah. This year, I went to a professional and talked
Oh.
about what happened to me
Mm.
and like what I've experienced. You know what? After talking to them, I felt really relieved. I felt really relieved kasi I gave myself that space na I acknowledge what you went through last year
Mm.
and seeking these professionals would help you. Sabi ko nga sa sarili ko after meeting them, parang while I was going home na, sabi ko, I should have done this last year. Yung nandun ako sa peak
Wow.
ng nararamdaman ko. Pero
Mm.
parang I felt, parang may sense talaga of relief na I needed to acknowledge that I had that part na I went through something hard. I went
Mhm.
through something tough. And
Yeah.
acknowledging that, it gave me a sense of freedom as well na
Mm.
parang regardless if there's gonna be, kasi I was asked to do some lab tests for my
Mm.
hormonal, for hormones, ganon. So, parang sabi ko, while I was talking to God, sabi ko sa kanya, regardless of what the results would be, like if if the results are normal, then that's great. It
Yeah.
means na wala na, parang it means na I'm really doing better. It's
Mm.
better now. But if the results, kunyari may mga results na may imbalance nga or whatever the result would be, yung fact na alam mo kung anong nangyayari sa'yo,
Mm.
you can do something about it. And that's when healing can start. Na alam mo, once na alam mo, like, di ba kanina we're talking about being aware, acknowledging
Mm.
what you're feeling. It really starts there. Kasi if alam mo na, you can really do something about it. Like, you can ask for people's help, you can change your lifestyle if you need to, like, be more intentional sa how you live your life. Kasi you know that there are, parang at first, I thought na, ay baka di nila magets or baka ako lang yung, baka, di ba
Mm.
usually naiisip din natin na, alam, baka nasa isip ko lang to,
Oh,
baka
yeah.
ako lang to, baka
Yes.
ako
Oh.
nakakakita nito, ganun. Pero nung I was talking to the doctors, they were actually the ones who, brought it up. Now there's this thing
Mm.
called PMDD, and maybe we can try to see if it's, if you still have it.
Mm.
So, talagang, oh my gosh, sobrang laking,
Relief.
relief
Mm.
talaga for me.
So good. Grabe. It just reminded me na of course God's gonna heal. For sure, he will. But
Mhm.
we tend to forget na pare tayo, we are teachers. Our purpose as teachers is to help the students. And that's the same thing with the doctors, 'di ba? Na
Yeah,
they are there because their purpose in life, their calling in life to help us feel better and to be well. And that's God's instrument of helping us go through something. And that's just a good example of what you said nga, na seeking the help of the professionals doesn't mean na whether you're a Christian or maybe you're an unbeliever. Kasi ang usual na iniisip ng mga tao, pagka nagpunta ka sa doktor, pera lang yan. Parang, uh,
mm,
if you go out, you'd have the same thing. But coming from you who has gone through something and who has been doing better, it really means a lot, I feel like. And them helping you acknowledge that you're really going through this and they can help you,
yeah.
yeah, is really something.
That's what you've said, diba? It's important that you have faith. But having
Mm,
faith as well means kung when to ask for help.
yeah.
And and asking for a professional's help is not the opposite of believing. It's not the opposite
Mm,
na you're
yeah.
believing in. Like you taking care of yourself means that you're stewarding kung yung life
Wow.
na binigay sa'yo ni God, hindi sila separate.
Mm,
Kasi usually, parang feeling ko nagkakaroon ng notion na parang separate eh. Parang,
mm,
okay, it's either you just believe in this or this. Pero
mm.
no, parang it's all related,
Yeah.
interconnected.
So true. How to be kind to our minds, and what do we do if we are really going through some tough emotional and mental issues?
Mm-hmm. But I don't recommend you diagnosing yourself.
Mm.
Like I don't recommend that. Parang acknowledging yourself or what you're feeling is just really welcoming those emotions. I think parang growing up we have this tendency na when you're sad, people or like the elders would always tell you na bawal, wag ka malungkot, bawal
Mm.
malungkot, dapat ano masaya lang ganon.
Mm.
And I understand because they were parang they are in a different generation as well. But parang from me as I learn about emotions, I think it's important na we don't label our emotion as bad or good or
Mm.
bad emotion. It's really more on there are emotions that is difficult to handle. There are emotions that are difficult to handle. So for example, what those emotions are when you're sad, when you're feeling
Mm.
sad, when you're feeling angry, when you're feeling scared. Those are the difficult emotions to handle. And kaya din parang we have the tendency to escape those emotions kasi we don't know how to handle it.
Mm.
So, acknowledge your emotions. But it's really hard to do. It's
Yeah.
really hard to accept na, oh, I'm feeling sad today or I'm feeling mad about this. Kasi acknowledging what you're feeling is also different from acting on that feeling. It's two
Mm.
different things. Kasi you can say that I am sad, pero I don't have to watch all the sad movies so that umiyak ako ng umiyak, 'di
Yeah.
ba? Or for example, if I'm mad, but it doesn't mean I have to throw away all the things that na malapit sa akin.
Mm.
So those are two different things. Pero number one talaga, important step is to acknowledge what you're feeling, regardless if it's easy or difficult emotion to handle. Siguro number two, support is really important. I think
Wow.
those two talaga are important things na not parang you don't have to immediately ask for, like seek professional help if you know
Mm.
naman na it's something na stress, stress siya or anxiety, you can talk to it with your friends or with your
Mm.
leaders or with your inner circle. So it's okay to ask for help. Yun talaga. It's okay to ask for support. It doesn't make you less of a person when you ask
Yeah.
for support, or it doesn't make you less valuable.
Mm.
Kasi it's normal talaga to seek for support. And sometimes baka ang kailangan mo lang din is maglabas ng, ma-process yung
Vent
emotions.
out. Yeah.
Yes. And
Mm.
afterwards, you would feel better. Naisip ko now, it's important also to be intentional with what you put in your head.
Wow.
So, for example, yung kinokonsume mo na social media or
Mm.
like movies or TV shows. Kasi
Yeah.
subconsciously, I can really, on my experience, subconsciously, it really has an effect. Whether
Mm.
you are aware of it or not, like,
Mm.
it can really affect you. Kunyari sa morning, if your habit is to check immediately social media,
Mm.
parang morning pa lang, pwedeng tendency, ma-compare mo na agad yung sarili mo sa
Sarili.
nakikita mo sa social media, which can set the tone of your day.
Yeah.
So, parang those things, it seems like little things, pero if everyday mo siya ginagawa, it will accumulate, it will affect you in the long run. So, ayun lang, parang for me, important din yun, kung ano yung kinokonsume mo sa nakikita ng mata mo, kinokonsume ng mind mo,
Mm.
it's really it's important to be mindful about that. And speaking of being mindful,
Yeah.
I think this is my last point.
Go.
Yung mindfulness. So parang mindfulness for me is focusing on my breath, like slowing down
Mm.
and just focusing on my breath, like ano lang, for example, parang 10 inhales, 10 exhales, ganon. So, on a practical side siya na magfo-focus ka lang sa paghinga mo. And,
Mm.
um, hindi na ako mag-go into details, pero there are a lot of benefits when you're mindful of your breath. So, I think that's also an important thing to practice.
Ang dami kong natututunan. It's super true. Meron akong friend who shared this. And he said na during that time sobrang angry niya lang, sobrang mad niya lang sa mga nangyayari and sa mga tao sa paligid niya. But then sabi niya na I wasn't aware that during that time God pala is teaching me how to rely on him more than my feelings. And
Mm.
that's so good na yes, we are going through something like this and we have to acknowledge, but at the same time, the sovereignty lang talaga na God is teaching you something. Sabi nga ni Esa, na it doesn't mean that emotions are wrong,
Yeah.
but instead it's actually something that can be a tool for God to move in your life, and that's
Yeah.
super true. And one more thing, yung about generation, we also talk about this on episode 10, about millennials versus Gen Z. And
Mm.
so, before, yung mga generations ahead of us really didn't got the chance to process their mental
Yeah.
health. Kasi
Yeah.
walang term na yun sa kanila. For us, we have, I feel like it's more of an advantage for us to have this kind of conversations, this kind of support groups, at
Yeah.
least. Whether may it be community at church, may it be your friends, and most especially that since we are aware of it, we can rely more to God na
Mm.
during these times. And
True,
so
true,
good, so good.
true.
So yeah, yon related to having circle of friends or support group. What do we do if someone from our circle reached out and asked for our help about it, or about that they're going through something alike?
You have to evaluate if it's something na dangerous sa
Mm-mm.
life nila. So, kasi sometimes there are people na, can share with you kung ano talaga yung nangyayari sa kanila or kung ano yung pinagdadaanan nila. So, when you have a friend that shares with you and you know that it can endanger their life, then
Mm-mm.
that means that you really have to, for example, seek yung parents nila or kung sino man yung guardians nila to help them out. Kasi if this is life or death, ito yung parang ethics talaga na if it's life or death, you really have to, step in kasi life na
Yeah.
yung pinag-uusapan.
Mm.
When it comes to, like, for example, your friend is telling you that they are feeling sad or they're feeling lonely or kung may mga pinagdadaanan talaga sila, I think the best thing to do is really to listen. Really to
Mm.
listen well and parang just make them feel na, hey, you're not alone on this.
Yeah.
Hey, it's gonna be okay. Kasi we also have the tendency na to give advice or like share kung ano yung perspective natin on that situation. But
Mm-mm.
then, parang ako, as I was reflecting, for example, I'm having a hard time and I share it with someone. Of course, I want to feel na parang I want to feel that these people, they understand, but more importantly, they're gonna remind me na, hey, it's gonna be okay, we're here for you. So I think yun. And mararamdaman mo kasi if the person is really, parang listens to you genuinely.
Wow.
And I think dun mo mafe-feel na if this person really cares for you, if you see that they're really, really listening. So yun yung sa tingin ko if your friends are telling you and just respect then their process
Mm-mm.
na kunyari pwede din kasi na irrational sila, 'di ba? Like minsan
Mm-mm.
may ganun din like ako din minsan naging
Yeah.
irrational ka kapag emotional ka. So
Mm-mm.
if share nila yung feelings nila, sometimes hindi mo kailangan agad sabihin na, huy, huwag kang magalit or like, kasi more on matitrigger yun,
Yeah.
honestly. Mas
Mm-mm.
more matitrigger yung friend mo if sinabi mo, huy, huwag kang malungkot sa ganito. Kasi they will feel invalidated actually with
Mm.
what they're feeling. And I think what you can tell them is, hey, if um lumipas na yung nararamdaman mo. Now, maybe we can talk about it more tomorrow
Mm.
or like when you are free so that if you need someone to process it together, I'm here for you. Yung ganon.
Mm-mm.
Hindi
Yeah.
yung i-invalidate mo agad. Uy, mali agad yan. Ganon. Kasi
Yeah, yeah.
may mga ganon ding instances eh. So, yeah, I think I think lang talaga just being present, just listening to your friend, making them feel na you're not alone on this and it's okay to not be okay.
That's so good. So, what I get from what you said is yung be or listening, simply listening to your friend can really help a lot. Kahit na
Yep.
minsan siguro mataon na you're also going through something, just listening and making them feel that you're there really means a lot na I feel like. And also with what you shared na yung being irrational about parang pagsagot na tama na we should be more intentional and be more genuine to the people around us, especially if they needed our help. Kasi, 'di ba, if we will put ourselves to their shoes, 'di ba, parang imagine na lang kung gaano kahirap 'yon and how much more yung konting tulong lang of just listening and being there and making the other person really feel na you're genuine about your relationship with the person too. So yeah. Super good.
True.
Yay! Sobrang dami ko napupulat, Esa. So great.
Thank you.
Ayan, sige. Does God cares about our emotional and mental health? And what does He say about
Mhm.
this? Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, wala
Mm-mm.
namang straightforward na passage sa Bible na God is saying na I want you to take care of your mental health or like, 'di ba, yung word na
Yeah.
mental health wasn't really mentioned in the Bible.
Mm-mm.
But I think that how God made us with emotions, that itself means na he acknowledges that we are people with emotions. Na it wasn't a
Wow.
surprise for him na, uy, nagagalit siya, parang,
Mm.
surprise agad, hala, nagagalit,
Mm.
nagagalit si Esa, or wala, umiyak si Esa. Parang, I really believe na, God knows that it's
Mm.
nasa nature natin to have these emotions. I think that God wants us to take care of our minds and our hearts kasi we are the temple of the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
And parang for me, if you are not mentally well or if you're not emotionally well,
Mm.
you can miss out on the wisdom that the
Wow.
Holy Spirit can give kasi you'll be
Mm.
too focused on your emotions or you'll be too focused on, other things. You can be distracted. It
Yeah.
doesn't, parang this, for me, this doesn't just apply sa having a mental health condition. Pero like,
Mm.
in everyday, like sometimes you can be too stressed out and you can miss out on what God has been telling you. So
So good.
parang when I was reflecting about the question, what it reminded me was yung verse from Romans,
Mm.
yung do not conform to the pattern
Wow.
of this world, but
Yeah.
be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Mm.
Then you will
So
be
good.
able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. So
Wow.
parang from here pa lang, you can say, parang for me, I can say na God wants us to renew our minds. Because sometimes
Mm.
we can be too caught up with the world, with the ways of the world, with,
Mm.
social media and all of these things
Mm.
happening, issues dito sa, yung mga issues na nangyayari dito sa paligid natin.
Yeah.
And parang transforming your mind is really important kasi dun mo mag-ground yung sarili mo. And what
Mm.
is the best way to transform your mind? That is really reading His Word. Like being
So
grounded
good.
sa love niya, being grounded on His truth, being grounded with your faith. And
Mm.
so when you are grounded, then you're able to have more wisdom on how to go about your life, even the small things, even the big things. It's all part of it. So I would say that yes, God really wants us to take care of ourselves. Kasi nga, dun, dun nagsa-start lahat eh. Like, hindi naman
Mm.
niya tayo ginawang robot. Di sana ginawa
Yeah. Wow.
tayong robots, diba? Pero
Mm.
hindi. He gave us a mind. He gave us our own mind. He gave us our own heart. And yung that itself is already a gift. So the question now
Mm.
is, how can we take care of it? He gave us
Mm.
something to help us, to equip us kung how can we take care of our mind as well. And that is also reading His Word, being grounded sa truth niya over our lives.
Yeah. So
Ayun.
good. Super good. I love your answer, your entire answer on this question. But first, yung sinabi mo na hindi naman nagulat si God when He created
Yeah.
you na, ala, nagagalit si ano. Hindi. It's not like, di ba nga, there's also one verse in the Bible which is, hindi ko kabisado yung entire verse, pero it says there that He knows every count of your hair. Tama ba?
Very,
Hair strand. So,
yeah.
yun pa lang, imagine nyo guys, yung buhok pa lang na we thought na wala lang yan. How much more our emotions and feelings na hindi
True.
siya, yun, hindi talaga siya nagulat na we are
Yeah.
going through something and we have emotions and we have feelings. That's why we feel His love and we feel that His presence. So, yun, being anchored, sinabi nga ni Esa na he already gave us the tool, yun, specifically to his words in the scriptures because that's his breath itself. And
Mm,
di na namin kailangan i-sugarcoat that, but that's already him. And yung binasa ni Esa sa Roman, sobrang that
yeah.
wraps up all all the things that God wants us to think of. Kasi, yun nga, we would still be affected with all of these things that's
Yeah.
happening. Politics, kung saan man yan. Pero, wala eh. God is saying na, I remember this verse that says na I am giving you my perfect peace, sabi niya. And God didn't assured us of a perfect life, but
Mm,
He assured us of His perfect peace. And
yeah.
yes, we are going through a lot of things. Yes, it's tough, but let us remember that He promised us that perfect peace. And so, I feel like seeking His word and being more ano ba yun, focus on what He says about us and to us through his words talaga can can brighten up the all the things that's happening.
That you're
So
going.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and parang ano din, I think na
Mm.
once you have that wisdom, that
Mm.
that can also be a way for you to seek out help, like
Mm.
outside of,
Yeah.
seek out professionals if you need to, and a way of of you taking good care of yourself din talaga
Cool.
if you have to seek out professionals.
Mm.
And for example, there are people na who can get scared because it's a new concept when you have to see a therapist or a
Mm.
psychologist or a psychiatrist. Pero as what you've said nga, we have the Bible. We get to be grounded on the Bible, and parang that gives us strength na it's okay to do these
Mm.
decisions or like to seek out help
Yeah.
so that we can help, so that we can get healed kung ano man yung
Mm.
dapat ma-deal with. Yeah.
The reason why God created us with a bunch of people around us is to really seek help. Like what yun nga, sinabi ni Esa na asking help from the professionals. Kasi kung okay lang naman na tayo mag-isa dito sa mundo, eh di sana hindi na siya nag-create ng ibang tao or ibang professionals to help us, 'di ba? So, yun.
Yeah.
Yun yung nakuha ko from what she
Mm.
said. Your advice to anyone who's going through something.
Yeah, who's going through
Mm.
something. I think like once in our life, minimum
Mm.
of once in our life,
Mm.
we're gonna go through something tough,
Mm.
and maybe it's not parang needed to be diagnosed as a mental health condition. Pero
Yeah.
one way or another, our mental health is shaken when things are, when things aren't
Mm.
going right, or like for example, this pandemic. I mean, a lot of people, they don't need to be diagnosed naman to in order to say na they are going through tough things. Kasi this pandemic is not normal.
Yeah.
'Di ba? It's our first time to be having to experience this. Imagine we've been in this pandemic like 2 years na.
Years,
two
God.
years na.
Oo
So
nga, Diyos ko.
like I really know how hard it is to feel
Mm.
that. Siguro I want to speak to like people na who felt somehow hopeless, who felt helpless, or you felt isolated or alone. For people who felt na people cannot understand them,
Mm.
or parang feeling mo your emotions are too much and it's all eto na lang yung mangyayari sa'yo. Like, your emotions taking over you, or you let your emotions identify you. Uh,
Mm.
Parang I want to speak to those people. Because I have had those experiences too. I have those moments too where I really thought that I wasn't okay.
Mm.
And I think my advice or my encouragement is to I just really want to hug you, Peeps. Yung
Aw.
kasi naman yung nakikinig ngayon. If may makakarinig na to sa future and meron kang pinagdadaanan, I just wanna say, I wanna hug you and tell you that it's gonna be okay. That it's
Mm.
really gonna be okay. I know things are tough right now, but it doesn't mean that it's that this is permanent. It doesn't mean na eto na lang
Yeah.
yung I believe that there's always hope. I believe that
Mm.
you can always ask for help, and that's
Mm.
okay to seek out for help. Every day, di ba, we have this opportunity to wake up. As human beings, we tend to think na tomorrow we will wake up.
Mm.
But when you really think about it, it's not also an assurance. Like, things
Yeah.
can always happen. And I
Mm.
believe na whatever you're going through right now, if you're able to wake up, or if nagising ka ngayong araw na to, that means God still has a purpose for you.
So
That
good.
means that means you are still called for something bigger than yourself.
Wow.
And
Mm.
that means na you can still contribute sa world na to. That means you still have a purpose, and you still have a meaning. So I think it's not an accident that you're alive. It's not an accident na you're still here. And I
Mm.
know that things can be tough, but I also believe na this is cliche, this is always what we hear, pero
Mm.
what we're going through right now, or whatever you're going through right now, kung sino man yung nakikinig or nanonood, na there's always a purpose behind it. So I pray, and my hope is that um even though you don't know the purpose of it, kasi for me, in my experience, I didn't know the purpose of what I was going through since last year. Ngayon ko lang siya na-figure out. Ngayon ko lang
Mm.
nalaman na meron palang gustong um, may gusto si God na matutunan ko pa in myself or
Mm.
in my heart. So even though you don't know the purpose of that yet, or the purpose of what you're experiencing now, my prayer is really to just hold on, and to stay hopeful. Surround yourself with people who will remind you that life is still good, that life is still beautiful.
Mm.
And don't if alam mo na matitrigger ka on something, then do something about that. For sure, you can make a way to get yourself out of what you're feeling. Ayan lang. Just remember that there's still a purpose behind all of this.
That's so good. For me, my advice for you who's listening to this right now, if maybe you've heard us talk about Christianity, or maybe you're unbeliever, you're not a follower of Christ. For me, my testimony is I was so depressed with not knowing where to go with my career, and I just feel yung lahat ng describe ni Esa kanina, na if you feel hopeless, you feel depressed, you feel lonely, um ako yon before Jesus saved me. And first thing that I did was I reached out to my cousin, but she didn't know that I'm going through something. But then God made a way for me to be able to go to that church, which is favorite church. And I'm not saying na I'm not saying that you go to a church directly just to feel okay. But for me, I feel like God used church and the
Yeah,
people around it, for me to realize that he is literally there. Because
yeah,
I kid you not, parang hindi ko lang ma-explain yung time na yon when Jesus really saved me, and he told me that I am worthy, that even if I don't know where to go with my career, that he loves me so much, that even if I've done so many bad things and so many bad decisions before because of my emotions, because of my feelings, that he still accepts me, and he is my that I am his daughter. And knowing that, and surrendering my life to him, really made a big shift. Na yung mga sinabi namin ni Esa about our faith, ganyan, hindi siya because of religion or because of faith or something, but it's because of the renewing love of God talaga, and we can't sugarcoat on that love that He made us feel, and we want you to experience the same thing. Kasi kahit na hindi man sobrang perfect nung buhay namin ngayon, sabi nga namin kanina na He didn't promise us a perfect life, but
Right.
He promised us a, a perfect peace, which is Him, which is
Mm,
Jesus.
mm,
So I am encouraging you right now to ask Him to come into your life, and for sure He will use people, He will use things in your life to deliver you from what you're going through. And
yeah,
yon, hindi man perfect yung pagdadaanan mo, pero for sure, like what Essa said, na you still have a purpose
yeah,
to for other people, and for your family, for your loved ones. So yon, you're not alone, girl or boy.
yes, you're not alone.
Yon.
You're
Oh
not
my
alone.
God. I love this conversation. Ang dami na remind. Thank you so much, Esa.
Thank you
Sobrang
so
thank you,
much.
girl.
Thank you so much. I really had fun.
Oh my God, yes. Thank you. Ayun guys, thank you. Let's thank Esa for saying yes to this podcast, and for efforting and having this time with us. So, yon girl, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye-bye.